Hello. Today we're talking about Dave Chappelle, The Bird Revelation. This is the part two of the Netflix original special, comedy special, that Dave Chappelle released yesterday. That was December 31st, 2017. And this one is different in quite a few ways. Like, it's definitely much smaller and more intimate. Like, it's not. It seems like it's at a very small club in Los Angeles. He mentions that it's in LA, but he doesn't mention where. And like, it's one of those clubs where the people are sitting so close to the stage that he can like reach out and flick his ash on their ashtrays, basically. And like, it doesn't seem like a very large crowd, and it's a pretty quiet crowd, but it seems like it's more designed for him to be more, um, basically to have more, not so much a one-on-one conversation, but more of a conversation. Like, he keeps using the phrase "real talk" throughout this, and it's definitely more um, jokes that he could get in trouble for. I think I've already seen some things on Twitter about it, but it's not like, if you listen to what he's actually saying, he's not really saying things that intentionally hurt anybody. He's just saying what he thinks, and he's not afraid to say what he thinks. Hasn't been for a very long time, but this particular special, like, he even mentions at some point that this might be his last one, which, I mean, it could happen. He probably made quite a bit of money for these four specials that he's done this year, and this being the last one. And he has walked away from it before, so it wouldn't surprise me if this was the last one. But especially based on the content that he did, like, this is the kind of one you do where you're not afraid of bad reviews or getting bad feedback, or things like that. So this one, it is good. It's still funny, but it's definitely more dark, and it's more like, if you do get triggered by things, like he does talk a lot about the allegations, the sexual misconduct allegations in Hollywood, because he did shoot it in Los Angeles, and he must have shot it recently, because he does talk about like Charlie Rose and Weinstein, so it was probably pretty recent. And he does have some funny jokes about it, though. That's the thing, is like, it's not all serious and dour. He bring humor to it. He talks about like what would happen if he had to go through that, and but he also brings in the serious, where he talks about like how it would feel for him to have to be in the woman's position for going through that kind of situation. So, I mean, he does seem sensitive to it. It's just, he does want to make jokes about it too. So it just depends on how sensitive you as an audience are when it comes to those things. But if you're a Dave Chappelle fan, you're probably not that sensitive. So I'm just saying, like, this is one of the ones where if you do get triggered by things like that, this would probably be the one that's what happens. So he does talk about those. He talks about a lot about Harvey Weinstein. He talks about how great it is that somebody would stand up for that and do something about it finally. And he does some jokes about that, for sure. Then he talks about Kevin Spacey, and how he's not gonna find out what happens at the end of House of Cards now, and things like that. He does talk about like Louis C.K., who he knows. I don't think he's friends with him, but he does talk about him like he knew him, and the things that he went through, and how basically, and this was something that I saw on Twitter, is he said that when the one that complained about him masturbating while he was on the phone with them, like, she should have just hung up the phone. So that's the kind of joke where, if something like that, if that opinion bothers you, then you're probably not gonna like this special, because there's quite a few opinions like that in this special. And he talks about, like, getting his family ready for in case things go really bad. And you know, he actually has some funny jokes about that, but you know, he also brings out the serious parts of, you know, things could get worse. And he talks about like the athletes kneeling during the anthem and how he uses the term brittle to describe people who would actually get offended by that. And but he's surprised that out of all the things, that's the thing that seems to get the most feedback, or you know, the most results. And you know, he talks about Colin Kaepernick a bit too, and mostly he ends with talking about a book that he read a long time ago about capitalism and how it affects life now and things like that. So it does get kind of preachy. It is, like I said, it's a small, intimate crowd, so he kind of goes off on these tangents, and they are preachy. They're funny, but a lot of times you're just sitting there waiting for it to be over so he can get back to the jokes, which is unfortunate because he does, like I said, he does have a lot to say. It's just that that's not why people are watching his special. They're watching it for the funny. And this special just isn't as funny as the other three he's done this year. This is the most preachy. It's the most where he speechifies and, you know, kind of goes off on telling people how he wants the world to be. And it's just not as funny. It is still funny. It's just not as funny. And it's also the shortest one. So overall, it's good. It's just not as great as the other ones. The last one, Equanimity, is much better. It's in front of a bigger crowd. There's more energy. There's more jokes. There's less, you know, there's less. I was going to use the word preachy again, but that's exactly what it is. He's preaching to the crowd, and there's less of that. So for me, I would say this special would be a 7 out of 10. And I'll still give it a thumbs up on Netflix, and it's still funny. It's got good jokes, but I would recommend any of his other ones over this one. But a 7 out of 10 isn't too bad. It's just that it's not as good as the other ones, that's for sure. So that is Dave Chappelle, The Bird Revelation, which I have no idea where that title came from, but that's what the special's called, and it's on Netflix now. So if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, or all the above. Thank you, and have a nice day.